Hey People's Republic of YouTube, I'm back, yes, hello. And before I get into this whole video of a tutorial thing, I just want to say that I have not done a Derail Valley video in like 3 years or something. And I know you probably have like a wife and kids now, probably retired, but yeah, sure, just let's get into the video. So I have two steam locomotives here. The one on the left is some kind of like heavy duty steam locomotive called the S282. And the one on the right is kind of more like a switcher, which is of course used for lighter loads, called the S060. Now, what's the difference of this? Yeah, I already said the first difference. But this difference is that this steam locomotive can pull around 800 tons max. And the one on the right can pull around 400 to 500 tons, I'm not entirely sure. But the video will cover about each of the basics of the steam locomotives, and basically, yeah, that's just everything about it. So, right, yeah, let's get into it. So first, we're covering the beloved S282 first. Now, before we get into this is a little bit of information about this, that this was basically one of the first two trains added into the game, and this was called the SH282, but since the new update, it's now being called the S282. Now, if you look at this is in some kind of 1984 livery. This is basically the newest steam locomotive, and it's been used for yard switching, lighter loads, whatever you want to call it. The price on the S282 is 500k, obviously in game money. Then the one on the right is 200, means 2k, sorry, 20k. So the one on the left is 50k, the one on the right is 20k. The S060 makes it the cheapest locomotive you could buy in the game so far. Now, all of the same starting up procedures are basically the same considering that they're steam locomotives, but each of them are a little bit different. So what you wanna do first is go here. This is no particular order, but it's recommended to first turn on the lubricator. Now, what the lubricator does, it helps lubricate the wheels. It's kind of like oil on a car. This is basically like oil, so the lubricator helps move the wheels instead of damaging it. If we go on here, oh, let's just go in here. Let's just find it real quick for it. This right here is called the air pump. Now, the air pump helps the brakes, helps basically control the entire train's brakes or something. You want to turn that on. And last but not least, we have the dynamo. Now, what this is, it powers the lights and everything. So you want to turn that on. Now, here's the important part. So here we are in the steam locomotive. Now, to cover up the whole anatomy, this right here is the reverser, or also known as the cutoff. This controls the train's forward and backward motion. This right here is speedometer, obviously in kilometers. This is the stand. This is the train brake, which covers the whole train's brake. And this right here is the independent brake, which only controls the locomotive. Right here we have the sander, the sand lever, which controls the sand, so the locomotive does not slip. You have, of course, the anatomy here, the brake pipe, the main res, and the chest. Now this, yeah, no, I'll just get into it later. So when we go into the center of the steam locomotive, obviously we have the boiler door for the firebox. Here we have the regulator. Now, to pull this back, it controls the speed and makes it go faster, and to push it forward, which of course minimizes the speed or minimizes the acceleration. This is the temperature of the fire, and of course in degrees Celsius. And this is the boiler bar. This shows how hot the steam locomotive is to fire it up. On the left side, or the far left, we have the water gauge. I'll explain about the whole water gauge later, but yeah, sure. This is the blower, which is of course used to burning the coal faster, so it can heat up more faster. I'm not too sure much about the blower. This is the valve, or basically, of course, pretty self-explanatory, just the valve on the top. This is the blowdown, which of course releases the water. It's recommended when you're shutting the engine down. Here we have the injector. Now this is pretty self-explanatory. This injects the water into the steam locomotive, so this is basically like a coolant. Now think of basically like a nuclear reactor or some kind of like, let's just think about it as a computer. Without the coolant, the PC will heat up or the CPU will heat up. Now the water is very important, so make sure that that is between these two bars right there. Too much water can overflow the flow of the water. This right here is the light control. This is day running, and this is night running, and this is bright lights. Same with the reverse lights right here. Now, this right here is the gear lights. The gear lights is what controls lights on the gears. Like, let me show you. There is a light bulb right here, and it shines on the wheels right there. So it's also important. Also, now let's begin the whole startup procedure thing. What is it? Let's just use the whole startup procedure. So the requirements that you have to have is, of course, a shovel. Let me just place it. No. Just a shovel and a lighter. Of course, you know the shovel is to shovel the coal in, and the lighter is to light the fire. Of course, you have to first open the door, and I would say give around 3 scoops is recommended. Also, it will show you when, so just make sure that everything is full, and it'll show you when it's full. Now what you want to do is get on your haunches and light the lighter up by, of course, clicking the left click, right click, I don't know. Then light the fire. Now, right here, this is where it's very important. The fire burns extremely quickly, so what you have to do is keep on shoveling the coal in and out, and I think you get it, yeah. Now I could hear the little, oh wait, no, so I'm just stupid, I'm just, you know what I want to do, you want to get the water in, and keep on shoveling in coal. Now it's better to click the F4 key to get into a better perspective. So, bloody hell, just cut the water off here. And slowly but surely, the coal starts to go a little bit slower and slower. Like right here, you can see it just gets slower and slower. Now this is where you need to watch the water. Sometimes if the water automatically overflows. So what you want to do, you want to make sure that you have to use the blowdown here and there. Also, make sure to keep the fire door closed when moving, or of course when you insert the coal, just open the door. Now, if you look at it here, you saw that little, you hear the movement thing, like it's like a little like sound, like I'm not sure how to describe it. That is the compressor charging up the brakes and stuff. This little this sound that you hear, which is also quite annoying, is basically the dynamo which controls the lights. As you can see here, there are some light movements. So here's day running, night's running, and of course brights, I like to call them, which is just brights. Same goes with the reverse. So here's day running, which is right there, night running, which is brighter, and of course brights, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now let's just switch on the gear lights. You see that the lights is right here. Now, the cutoff is also important. So when the cutoff is at 100%, this means that you're mainly focusing on power, so going around 60 or 70 kilometers. If you want to go faster, slowly move the cutoff. So let's say around maximum is 70%, which will allow you to go over 100 kilometers. Now, quick things is that you have to watch the coal and you have to watch the water. If you don't have enough water, then it will cause a boiler explosion. And if you have not enough coal, of course you won't move anywhere. So yeah. So, I'm just stuttering right here. Releasing the brake, you have to make sure that the brake is around 5. If it's 5.0, then you're free to move. If it's 3.5, then that means that the brakes are not, the brakes are fully charged. So let's just set the headlights to run bright. And another thing, before you depart, you want to switch the cylinder cocks on. What the cylinder cocks do is that they basically allow the pressure, I'm not too sure how it works, but if you of course don't use cylinder cocks, then of course one of the cylinders will explode. Alright, so to get this thing moving, make sure that the brakes are down, water and coal is fine, dampener is 100%, cylinder cocks is at 100%, and slowly apply power. Of course it's rainy, so... Oh, so this is really helpful in rainy conditions. So you see that the wheels really slip. Now, if you switch the standard to 100%, they of course help a little bit, which yeah, it just accelerates. Right now, when you add a certain speed, switch the cylinder cocks off, so you actually can accelerate, which is of course what you need though. And of course, yeah, in order to brake, since we're just using the locomotive itself, we can switch the independent brake. But sometimes, like, if you switch the brake to too much, or it's too high, the wheel skid, and that can damage the wheel. So make sure that you slowly apply brakes if you're using the locomotive itself. Same here, just go to the cutoff if you want to go in reverse, cylinder cocks on. Just open this real quick. Just load the coal up, fire door down. And for the, so before we end the full tutorial for the S282, there is a few things I want to talk about the tender, but there's a whole shutdown procedure that you want to do. Normally on a steam locomotive, it'll take like a while to start up the steam engine. Like it'll take like a couple of hours to get the firebox heated up. Alright, so let's just slowly reverse into, slowly reverse. And we will cover the tutorial on the S060, which basically you know the basics of a steam locomotive. So let's just slowly stop the steam engine. Okay. Yep, reverse. So, okay. So now you've stopped into the position that you want to shut down your steam locomotive. Make sure that the cutoff is at 0%, or just -1, whatever. Make sure that the independent brake is off, or the handbrake is fully on. But you can actually do whatever you want with the brakes. Cylinder cocks, of course, must be off. Dampener at 100%. Now, this is the part that you don't want to mess up. So here, what you want to do first, you want to drop all the coal. Now if you go, this is often it's a coal dump feature, this will basically dump all the coal that is in the steam locomotive. I want to make sure that that is fully dropped, and you can see here that the fire temperature is going down dramatically. Now, I would say that you have to drop the temperature to around 300 degrees, and the next step will basically just be dropping the water or using the blowdown, which I'll show later. So just for an examination, you can see that the firebox is just dark. Now, next step is actually pretty simple, so make sure that it's around and like here. I would say around like 210 or 200 to 210 is recommended. Now, this is the part that you want to make sure goes all correctly. The blowdown is basically controls removing the water. And you can see the large amount of steam comes out. I would say you leave the water at around, just keep the water though, and leave the water at around a small amount of the minimum level. And this is basically pretty much the shutdown procedure for the steam locomotive itself. And of course, switch the lights off, the lubricator, the air pump, and the dynamo. Which, of course, hold on, just show you how to do the full shutdown. Sorry about that. I'm gonna click the button here. And what you want to do here, you want to or switch this off, which will stop making the sound. Oh. You want to go here and turn the lubricator off. And last of all, you want to switch the air pump. Now, as I promised through the tutorial, I want to talk about a few things. There are some features. There is a window that you can open and close. And there's even the same here, there's some windows that you can open and close. And now, this, of course, if you don't know what a tender is, it's basically used to store coal and water. So it can provide for the steam locomotive. And yeah, that's basically it. Now, it's time for the S060 tutorial. Now, it's basically the same, but with a few small features. So if we go here, and of course, it's heavily based off the S100. What you want to do, you want to first turn on the air pump, which is right on the side. Turn that on. Then switch on the dynamo, which is of course the lights and everything. And then you go down here on the right side, there's the lubricator. And now it's time to basically go in. Windows work. Yeah, just, Windows work and stuff. It's nothing really special. But the one feature that I'm surprised about is that we'll get to the feature anyways. So, here we have the wipers. So it has, sorry, I'm just not thinking. The steam locomotive has wipers and cabinets, which is a total upgrade. And it also has, this door, I forgot the name. I think it's called a smoke door, roof door. I'm stupid, yeah. Here you have the controls on the far right. You have the bell controls, which you switch right here, and the wipers control. You have the independent brake, and you have the train brake, which of course these both power the steam locomotive's braking functions. Here you have the cylinder pump, and here you have the reverser, which is pretty cool, or the cutoff on most steam locomotives. Here you have the sand, the speedometer, and the chest controls. And here you have the sander, which of course controls the sand. Now here you have the middle area. Let's start from top to bottom. You have the blower, which of course controls the coal to make the coal go more down and the temperature higher. You have the blowdown, which of course controls the water. The regulator, which of course controls the speed. And here you have the coal box, or and this is actually, let me just, if it's possible to go into this mode. Yeah, it's not much detail, but at least it's something. Here you have the injector and of course the headlights. Yeah. Now let's start up with the whole procedure. So of course, same requirements. You have to have the shovel and the lighter. Now you want to open the same procedure for the steam locomotive, like same procedure. Just want to unload and unload. Now this is the same amount of coal required, and of course, oh shoot, you want to do just light fire, and same old thing that the coal goes down incredibly fast. And you can see that that's kind of like a dance routine sound. That's basically the air pump charging up the brakes. Alright. Just close the firebox door, and that basically prevents the blowback from happening. So blowback is basically when the hot ashes go on the floor right here, and that can be quite painful. Now if you look here, this has some bell right here. The cab lights, you could switch the light on right here. The wipers have, of course, 3 modes. One is for the slow mode, which can be used for moving which is slow mode. Use some kind of like burst movement. Here is basically the same, but instead with just 2 movements. And here we have the wipers on full. Now let's just try that out. And same old, 3.5 is when the brakes are applied, and 5 is when the brakes are released. Turn the regulator to full, and there's another feature. It's this movement right here, which is also a really cool feature. And of course, the lights, same old bright light and stuff, which is quite cool. Of course, remove the cylinder cocks and everything, and apply power. But the thing is that this accelerates a lot more faster. So if we put the sender to full, it just accelerates. It accelerates really fast. And of course, recommended speed to remove the cylinder cocks is around like 15 kilometers. And of course, you know, basically the basics is like when you apply full brakes, you risk the steam locomotive of skidding the brakes, or skidding the wheel, especially on when you're carrying a train. Now, when you releasing the brakes will of course remove the brake pressure, and of course, you know, the basic movements and stuff. I forgot the cylinder cocks. So that is basically it to cover the full tutorial of the steam locomotive, of the movements and everything. And also another feature is let's just apply the independent brake if you go here. Now of course this is also basically important for the locomotive, is shutting it down, which of course includes just cold dumping it and stuff. Like, put the, that's cylinder cocks. Cold dump must be full, and that will basically just drop the firebox temperature dramatically. And you can see that the fire temperature is going down. So, alright. So, you, last but not least, switch all the lights off, cab lights and everything, cylinder cocks to 0, and that's basically it for the steam locomotive. Yeah, and that is basically the basic controls for now, though. Alright, so, hope you enjoyed this video. Now, just get out, just get out.